Make sure to subscribe with notifications for the latest updates. Latest on Tropical Storm Arthur, which, despite not looking very impressive on satellite imagery, has maintained its intensity of 45 miles an hour with a minimum pressure of 1,003 millibars as of 11:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time this May 17th. Storm is currently at 32.4 degrees north, 76.9 degrees west, stage 1 on the CDPS scale. Minimal damage, if any, significance will be occurring to land along the Outer Banks of North Carolina within the next 24 to 36 hours. So if you are there, you might still get some inclement conditions, but nothing too significant. Distance of miles from land right now: Charleston, South Carolina, 178. Wilmington, North Carolina, we're looking at 140 there. In Hatteras, where the closest approach to a potential landfall could occur 206 miles away, so we're getting pretty close in terms of a time frame for any potential land impacts. Tropical storm warning is in place for Surf City to Duck, North Carolina, and Pamlico and Albemarle Sounds. These aren't too significant. Winds could actually remain offshore fully, as only really parts of the Cape are at highest risk for inclement conditions. Here's the GFS computer model showing the precipitation. You can connect to the zone of influence of the storm. This is the 18Z model run, clipping the Outer Banks of North Carolina, possibly to the Delmarva Peninsula, before moving out to sea, potentially looping back around towards the south to impact Bermuda even later on in the model run. There is more certainty now overall that the storm will get pushed out to the east by this upper level low that's going to be coming down from the central United States, and it won't really pose any significant land impacts to anywhere in the northeastern United States. Sea surface temperatures, depending on where you are, could be favorable or unfavorable for the storm. It really depends on how much it stays over the Gulf Stream. Those waters are still more than conducive enough for development. However, anywhere else is going to be too cold to really sustain any significant cyclone. Not to mention wind shear is definitely not favorable either. Here you can see the wind speed forecast from the GFS. You can see it just clipping the Outer Banks of the North Carolina coastline and staying mostly outshore as it transitions to an extratropical cyclone. We'll say it probably overdoes it on the intensity during that transition phase, as it's a few hours old, hasn't really caught up with the storm, still looking utterly terrible. And you can see there, it does bring it back south towards a potential clipping of Bermuda to some extent. We will have to monitor that for them to also potentially get some inclement conditions as well coming down the line. Today the tropical storm force winds look like this, so basically nil around the board. Back at Charleston, South Carolina, still 0% there. It's not going to get tropical storm force winds. Wilmington, North Carolina, despite being closer, very unlikely. Put in at 0 as well. Hatteras even, where a landfall was thought to have potentially been more likely, down to 20% because the wind field is offshore, displaced to the east. Here's the track forecast models. You can see the consensus of a turn to the northeast and then east and even a bit to the southeast by all the models. The only one bringing it back inland for some reason, HWRF, does that as it's absorbed completely into a larger rotation. This is the HWRF's rain swath. You can see, fortunately, let's look at some zones of 4+ inches of rain onshore in North Carolina, reaching into the Delmarva Peninsula even, but relatively, rainfall will be the largest threat from the system. We aren't looking at too much in terms of wind speed. Here's the latest satellite imagery. You can see very disorganized overall, although flare-up and convection, that is making it look a bit better than it was a couple hours ago. Outer bands reaching into North Carolina already, potentially reaching up towards Virginia and the Delmarva Peninsula. Broad and pretty disorganized system, but still tropical, although maybe a bit less tropical than it was a day ago when it was first designated. Still at 45 miles an hour. We'll keep you updated with the latest. You can follow us on our outlets, force13.com for web articles and the live cyclone tracker. You can also find us here on YouTube. If you're not watching here already, make sure to subscribe. We're also on Facebook. It's Force13 to find our latest posts there. And we're also on Twitter. It's at Force13 to ask us a question on that platform. You can also help the project become even better by becoming a patron. More information can be found at patreon.com/force13, or you can become an ultimate fan right here on YouTube for perks and to directly support the project and our future endeavors in these times. You can also find us on Discord to communicate with us on our Discord server. Link is in the description below, and you can message Fool13 at extension 9094.